And we are recording and we are live. So, welcome to Playing to Win. I am so excited about our guest today. For those of you who don't know Bobby Moats, I'm really excited to share Bobby Moats with you today, either here on the live stream today or in the podcast, the second half. I've known Bobby for his whole career, and I've watched you, Bobby, grow an amazing, extraordinary empire here in Austin. And I want to talk about a lot of different things with you today. So just first of all, welcome to the show, Bobby Moats.
Thank you, Melanie, for having me. I'm excited to be on here.
The crowd goes wild. And you know, the cool thing is, for those that are just listening on the podcast, I apologize ahead of time. You can't see it, but Bobby, let's just start with that really cool wall. You were telling me before we went live, what is that wall behind you? I love that.
Yeah, it's a mural of Austin that we put up here over the pandemic, just because I was working out of this room, my gym, and the blank white walls were not inspiring whatsoever. So we had a local artist come draw this. At the same time, you can kind of see it over here. There's Ninja Turtles that are overlooking Austin too, with some inspirational quotes and things. So
I love that. Okay, tell me more about the Ninja Turtles. Why are the Ninja Turtles there? Because you have a little boy, but you have two girls, and I grew up with Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers in my house with two boys, right? So tell me what that means for you guys.
I mean, me personally, I grew up a huge Ninja Turtle fan. This was actually not my idea. This was Shaina's idea.
Wow.
Putting the Ninja Turtles with an inspirational quote on the wall. That was totally her idea. And I just
love it.
With it.
I love it.
The artist, Mike Johnston, he absolutely loved it too, because he was obsessed. And so we went with it. That's
very cool. I didn't even catch that when I was first looking at it. So I love that you pointed that out. Yeah, I don't know about you, Bobby, but in my house, growing up with little boys that are now men, right? They always either had a Power Ranger outfit on or a Ninja Turtle. So yeah. I totally relate. Well, I'm so happy to have you on the show, Bobby. With Playing to Win and the second half, we talk a lot about mindset, and we talk about the mindset of a winner, and the whole idea of, playing to win is a decision you make every day. And you're somebody that really is a great example of that. And so I want to talk about a couple different things. And it's also the reason I started the podcast too, is it's, what happens in the second half, right? It's like people can come out of the gate, but they burn out, or maybe they get out of the business, or then they end up losing the game, right? It's really in the second half where the magic happens, where you win or fail or whatever it is you do. And I think people give up too quickly when they're just about to have success. And so you being with, having you and your wife, Shaina, who's amazing. And you guys started this team with Keller Williams in Austin, and you have now built, like you said, over the last 12 months, you guys have closed over $120 million in sales.
Right. Yes.
That's incredible, right? And I think what you've done a really great job, and I want to dig in, we'll get there, but you are like the great example of expanding within a city at a really high level. Like, I think you guys are the best example of somebody who have really taken that expansion idea within a city and done it really well, because a lot of that volume comes not just from your hub. A lot of that volume comes from, you're in two market centers, very engaged at a high level. So I want to talk a little bit about that too.
Okay.
Sound good? So let's just back up. Let's let the audience get to know Bobby Moats. Bobby, tell us a little bit about your background. What'd you do before real estate? And then, because your wife had actually joined real estate before you. So let's talk a little bit about how it started.
Yeah. Okay. My background is finance, data, and analytics. And the most recent career that I had before jumping into real estate, well, I was a competitive analyst for Whole Foods pre-Amazon days. I would go around the country and analyze prices for new stores and see what the competitive impact and landscape looked like, and try and give that to the store managers that were opening up those stores. But while I was working at Whole Foods, my wife, Shaina, decided that she was going to jump into real estate. She was working for a nonprofit in the call center, and she decided that she wanted to step away from that after we had our first child, and do something that could just replace her income she was making. She was making like $30,000 a year doing that. And if you know my wife, she doesn't do anything halfway.
She does not. She's amazing. We'll have to have her on another time.
Yes. Instead of only replacing her income of 30 grand, she sold, I think it was 48 houses her first year in real estate, without any leverage whatsoever. And it wasn't a high price point back then. It was like 220 or something. I think it ended up being 8 or 9 million total, but she won Rookie of the Year in Austin.
She did.
And was working so much that I barely saw her, because I would be at work. She'd be taking care of Isabella, or I would be at home and she would be out showing clients. And that was back in the days when option periods lasted till midnight. And so she would be working until midnight.
Oh, wow.
That was super fun. Glad that's done. And she looked at me and she was like, Bobby, you have to quit. You have to come do this. Because at that point, she was far and away the breadwinner in the household. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I quit and jumped into real estate.
What year was that? What year was that you joined Shaina?
That was it had to be at the end of 2013. 2014 is when I officially got my license.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. But I had quit in 2013.
Right.
With the expectation that I was just going to jump in. We were going to just duplicate everything that she was doing at a high level and double our income. And that did not happen. Either I'm not as talented as she is at real estate, which is probably the case, or it just doesn't work that way. Right.
Right.
And then we just started building a team. That was once I realized that I couldn't just go in there and duplicate what she was doing and we could expand. My goal became, okay, how do we take what we're doing and how do we turn this into something bigger than ourselves? How do we turn this into a team, a business that can continue to grow and help the people inside of that business live out their dreams and their goals, including ourselves. And we have had lots and lots of ups and downs along the way. It is not.
Yes. Oh, I know you have. And we'll talk about some of that, but hold on. I want to stay on what you just said. Excuse me. So Shaina comes into the business, does 8 or 9 million her first year. She's rookie of our office. She's rookie of the city. We were so proud of her. You come in and think, I'm just going to, replicate that. I think that happens a lot, right? People think, well, if it's done, and we say that, right? If it's been done once, it can be done again. But I think what's really interesting is the story about Shaina is such a great story, because how many weeks did she do open houses before she had her first deal? Do you remember?
It was 6 months.
It was 6 months every weekend, right?
Every weekend, 2 open houses every single weekend, at least.
Yeah. And you would help with the signs.
I was the marketing director. That's what I like to call myself. No, I was running signs and making sure they were placed appropriately. I was making sure they weren't getting stolen. I was out there just making sure marketing was on point for those open houses.
Right.
So I attribute a lot of that success to my sign running abilities.
Well, I was going to say, it was definitely the signs. You guys always had amazing signs, by the way. You always had, and that's the thing is people like, nobody comes to the open house. It's like, well, how's your signage? Like for real, right? Because you have to, and you guys always had such great signage everywhere. In fact, so much that a competitor stole your signs because y'all were getting too much success. But that all got figured out. So now, okay, so then you got to the point where, okay, we can't just come in and just double that, right? Like with the two of us. So then you made the decision, you guys said, we're going to build a team. So how did you go from that? Let's talk a little bit about that. What was important? What was your first key hire, you think?
Our first key hire was an assistant, somebody to come in and help us to manage some of the administrative side that we weren't, that was not helping us to grow, because that was a lot of things that was holding Shaina back more than anything. Was she didn't have enough time to commit to the things that she was really, really good at, which was having conversations and closing clients.
Right.
And all the administrative stuff on the back end. Once we were able to get some of that off of our plate, it allowed us to grow pretty significantly, not a tremendous amount, but pretty significantly, and at least get to that next level.
Okay.
Right. I think we went from, when she did 9 million her first year, I think we jumped up to like 18 million that next year. So we kind of doubled, but it wasn't astronomical.
Yeah. Well, doubling is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's, let's just say, I think everybody, when I'm advising people, Bobby, when I'm talking about their goal setting and things like that. And I always say, a double is a really amazing goal to have, right? When people say, I want to be $1 million agent. Great. Well, what are you going to do this year? Let's start with this year and then double, double, double. So I think, imagine if you could double your business every year. I mean, what a life that would be. And you all have, so one thing I want to point on is, when did Aaron Leff join the team? When did Aaron join you guys as your director of sales?
So Aaron joined in, I want to say it was 4 years ago. It feels like a lot longer than that.
It does.
It was about the time we decided that we wanted to go into the Northwest Market Center.
Yeah, expansion.
Try out this expansion thing a little bit.
Yeah.
We probably did it a little bit too soon. I think at that point we were about 30 million in volume. But we took the leap, and that had a lot of ups and downs too. Like jumping into expansion when you're not ready is not ever going to be profitable. It's a while.
Exactly. And so, and the expansion was kind of new 4 to 5 years ago too, for all of us, where we've all kind of gotten our groove on and what that looks like. So we all kind of learned together. And I remember it was right when I became OP in the North and I was still team leader South, and Aaron's like, well, okay, we're going to do this expansion team with Moats team. And it's been so fun to see that. And now what an amazing team you've built. And you really, so you have let's talk about today. You have how many agents on the team now?
Last time I checked, it was about 35.
It was about 35. Yeah, I was just asking Aaron this the other day, and you have, it's pretty well distributed. You have your ISE team South, you have a great ISA team. You've got your sales agents kind of half and half. And so literally your agents can sell all over the city and be in 2 locations and use either location, whatever. So I think a lot of people don't think about expansion within a city. And I just think you all have done such an extraordinary job of that. So I just want to, I talk about your guys' story all the time. So tell me, this is the question I like to ask, Bobby. What does playing to win look like for you?
What does playing to win look like for me? I mean, honestly, it's perseverance. It's, over the years, there's been a lot of really good ups and a lot of really downs. Yeah. A lot of things that would make people quit real estate. And I've seen people quit real estate because of those things. And you have to push through those downs if you're ever going to win at anything. Some of the most successful agents that I know have had some really, really bad years. And that's any business, right? And if you can push through that and make it through that turbulent time, you're going to win, because we're in a relationship-based business, and you have one great year, you build a lot of relationships in that great year, and you may have a really bad year that next year, because it's the nature of people. Once they experience a little bit of success, they expect that success at a high level, and they don't realize the amount of work that they put into it. And then inevitably you could have a bad year because of that, unless you're consistent with what your activities and what you're doing. But to be able to push through that, if you realize you just push through that, you have people who have trusted you with the biggest purchase of their life, the biggest sale of their life in real estate. They're going to come back to you as their real estate advisor, right? And that's something that we have realized every time we've had a bad year. We're like, look, we're just going to push through this, and we may go into mass amounts of debt, but at the same time, we know that we have so many clients that are behind us that are willing to support our business when it's their time to buy or sell. And I think pushing through that and realizing that there is success on the other side, that's huge.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, like I said earlier, that, so many people quit, and we've heard that again, right before they're about to have a breakthrough, right? And, Gary Keller's the first to say he's failed more than anybody, right? And so you're going to have those. And it's times like these that you just need to think about, okay, so what do I need to be doing differently? And that's what playing to win is like. Instead of playing not to lose, because we tend to get stuck in that mindset of playing not to lose, which is that scarcity. Instead of what do I need to be doing differently? Because Bobby, you've seen it in just the time that you've been in our industry, how much it's changing and evolving, and how competitive it's gotten, right? And so let's talk a little bit. You took a little time to go to KWI. right? You got snatched out of our market center and brought into work for Gary and the technology team to be, when we rolled out Command and everything. Let's talk about that journey a little bit, because I bet you had some great experiences really getting to know people all across the country through that.
Yeah. So I think it was 2018. I'm losing track of years. COVID, the lockdowns have made me lose track of years. I think it was
I know it. That sounds about right. I feel the same. Like, did that happen then?
Yeah. I got the call to come on board and be the director of labs at KWRI and help guide international from the perspective of an agent around what technology and what the future of the technology should look like. And I spent about 2 years in that world, working really closely with Gary, working really closely with that tech team, and the whole organization, honestly, and traveling around the country and working very closely with top agents, whether they were single agents or really top teams. And honestly, if I point to one thing that was the most impactful for me in my business, it was probably that. Not because there was any sort of like, I'm not getting referrals right and left across the country. That's not how I'm growing my business.
Right.
It's not because I learned some sort of secret. It's because I realized after talking to Gary and talking to all these top teams, I almost did my own little MREA research is what it felt like, because I was trying to figure out, okay, what are the top things that all these top teams are doing, and how do we distill that down to something that we can implement inside of Command and KW's tech that allows all the other agents to use that at a high level. And by going around and having all those conversations and distilling all that information down, I realized that the stuff that we talk about, that your team leaders talk about, that Gary talks about on stage, that is talked about on Mega Camp, all of that stuff, even top teams, you don't need to recreate the wheel. You don't have to. You just have to look at who's succeeding at a high level. Now, granted, there's different steps. Like this, people that are succeeding at the level that you want to be at, and you need to follow them. Tim Heil did a really great class on this a few years ago called The Real Estate Machine. You have to look at the level you want to be at, is probably really high. And you can't start out doing those things that are going to cost you a tremendous amount of money to be that. You got to look at, okay, what's the next best step that I need to go, and what do I need to do to be that?
Right.
What do I need to do to have that sort of business? Right. And so I looked at that and I saw, okay, what's the next step that I need to take? What sort of business do I need to emulate? What sort of lead generation activities? What sort of team structure do I need to emulate? And I'm going to go chase that and do those things that everybody's preaching, because you can find all sorts of unlimited amounts of information on how to do it that way. I'm going to do that. And then I looked at the next level and said, okay, I'm going to do that next, and then that next. And it's just stair steps, right? And you got to be purposeful about it, right? It's going from E to P, right? We became very purposeful about what we were doing. Yeah. And we were hovering around the 30 to $40 million level for a while, volume level for a while. And once we decided to get very purposeful about taking those next steps in business and doing things that were proven, we exploded.
I love that. Let's talk about what is E2P, because some people, some listeners today might not know what that is. When you say we went from E to P, what does that even mean?
Right. I may butcher this completely. I apologize.
I'm here. I got your back. If you need help.
Entrepreneurial mindset. It's going from a very, and trying to, and we all do it when we jump into real estate. We want to come in and we want to recreate the wheel because we know how to do it better, or we have some unique idea that we want to implement that's going to do better than everything else that everybody else is doing that is succeeding. And it doesn't work. I promise. It does not work. It may work one time out of a million. And that's because you took something that was already being done and you tweaked it just a little bit.
Right.
To being very purposeful about, and once you become purposeful in your activities and the things that are proven to work, you're going to see extreme breakthroughs in your business. And Did I get that right?
I explained you know what I was going to tell you. You explained that beautifully.
Okay.
It's actually one of my favorite 6 perspectives, the 6 personal perspectives at Keller Williams we talk about mastery, right? And if you think about, I'll just add to that, because that was beautifully explained, Bobby. But for people that don't know much about what that means, think about, the only thing we didn't talk is that ceiling of achievement, right? Everybody has that ceiling of achievement, and some of us are really, really talented. Bobby's super talented. Shaina's super talented. A lot of you on the call listening are super talented. So we get pretty far in life with our own entrepreneurial spirit and our creativity and just showing up. And, we get pretty far, a lot of us, until we don't, until we cap it at 30 to 40 million, 30 to 40 million, 30 to 40 million. And we look up and we say, well, if I don't change something, this is my ceiling. My ceiling has arrived, right? That's what it is. And so a lot of times, like Bobby, throughout my career, because I've done this so long, when I'm getting frustrated and I'm feeling like tension, I'm usually recognizing I'm in an E to P moment, right? Meaning I need a different system, or I need another person, or something's missing in my life. And so when you add that to your life, you break through that ceiling, and that ceiling now becomes your floor. And E to P is not something that just happens once. It might happen 3 times in a day, right? It happens in different things in your life. So E to P, just having that mindset. I love that you brought that up. Having that mindset around E to P all the time. Like, what are other people doing differently to have different results? And I love how you said the stepping, like it's a step up, because, you could look at people listening today are gonna be like, yeah, but Bobby Moats and Shaina, their team, 120 million, like I'm doing 2 million, or I'm doing 7 million. They can't relate. Well, if that's really where you want to go, right, then what's the next natural step to get you towards that, right? So I love that you brought that up. That's really good.
We've experienced it so many times throughout our career. Even Shaina's first year, Shaina was never going to do any more transactions, because trying to do 40 to 50 transactions all by yourself without any leverage whatsoever, you're going to burn out, and you're just going to stop, and you're going to realize
this is quit or whatever. Yeah.
You're going to quit. And, we're coming up to another one of those ceilings right now, for us. And it's almost scary territory. I hate it too, every time you come up to that ceiling, because
it is scary.
You spend a lot of time, it's a lot of effort in putting building systems, building processes. And then you realize that this is as far as these are going to get us. Yeah. And all these hours that I put into making sure that these were perfect and we got these right are now, we're about to have to scrap.
Yeah.
There are no sacred cows in business, right? You have to be able to get rid of things sometimes, and kill some processes, kill some systems to be able to move to that next level. There is nothing that you're doing right now that is not sacrificable to take you to the next level.
Right. Or won't need to change at some point. I've been talking a lot about, because we just launched Bold, and I love that quote that I heard from Bold that says, that the same man never enters the same river twice, because the river has changed, and so has the man. And I talk about it all the time. And that's like in life, it's never going to stay. The one thing you can count on is change. Because even if all your systems are perfect and you have nailed everything, life changes. Somebody gets sick. The market changes. You have an economic downturn, whatever. You get new competitors into the industry that, put millions and millions of dollars to pull the consumer away from real estate professionals, right? And so whatever it is, you're just never done. So the more you can embrace that, the one thing I can count on is that change is always coming. And if you stay more like the water and you're more adaptable, and it takes, so I love your mindset around that. So how did you get to where you guys are today? You talked about, you're at that 30 to 40. Let's talk a little bit about you, because then you went 2 years to go do that. And then you came back because you're like, man, now I'm really fired up to get back in and really help. And that was a real turning point, it seems like, for the team, wasn't it?
Yeah, we took a lot of the strategies that top teams were using across the country, and we tried to distill those down to something that would work for us. Also, a really big impact in my mindset and how we were approaching business was something that Gary said. he had a mastermind that I got to sit in on when I was at KWRI, and he was talking about how us as business owners, we need to build our cake. As the rainmakers, we need to build our cake, meaning we need to drive the business to our team. We need to own the business for the team so that we can provide them with that value proposition at a high level. And anything that they bring in, whether it's their sphere deals or people that they meet outside of regular real estate activities, that's just icing on the cake. And I think a lot of the stuff that we were doing beforehand, and a lot of stuff that a lot of people that are starting teams are doing, they have this mindset that I'm going to bring people on. I'm going to bring buyer's agents on. I'm going to bring just general agents on, whatever, and they're going to go get business for me. And that was so prevalent in everything that we were thinking about how a team should operate. And once we gutted that and decided, you know what, we're going to be the driver of business for our agents. We're going to be the ones that help them grow and reach their dreams. So that after we did that, everything became a little more clear. Like, here's our purpose. Our purpose is to drive business to our agents at a high level so that they can accomplish their goals and dreams. And if they bring anything else outside of that, great. That's really good. We're going to teach them how to do it. We're going to teach them how to fish. But we're also going to hand them a bunch of fish.
Yeah.
And that became a huge light bulb moment for us. It's the cake and icing. You as a team owner, you need to build that cake. You are the rainmaker. And what that means is you are driving business. A lot of people see themselves as a rainmaker, and they just want to stand back and watch it. And that's not right. How it it's the other way around. You got to flip that on its head. You are there for your agents. Your agents are not there for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's such a really valid point. And we talk about the value of, commission and what splits are and stuff on teams only become an issue when there's the absence of value, right? And so I always tell people, because we meet so many people coming into the business. There's more people now coming into the industry than there are in the industry. And so every conversation is, okay, we have two ways to come on board with Keller Williams on a team as an individual. And let me explain the differences. And because what, there's no right or wrong. It's just, we want the people in the best seat on the best bus for them. And I always say, but don't get caught in the commission like conversation, right? Because it's not apples to apples. And so I love that you said that. But see, your team offers that. Some teams don't. Some teams do just believe, well, I'll just bring people on and they'll bring. And I'm not saying Keller Williams teams do that, but I'm just saying there's a lot of teams in the industry that think that way. And I think you're really smart that you guys get that. I love the baking the cake idea, and anything they self-generate is icing on it. I love that concept.
Right. You have to build a business for them in such a way that you're almost their real estate service provider on the side. And you're helping them to achieve a profit margin, which is whatever their commission split is, that is probably going to be higher than what you're achieving at the end of the day, because they don't have to pay for all those things. And you should be paying for all those things and helping them to run a high level business so they can achieve a profit margin, which is their split, that is going to provide them with a really good life. And that's why it is apples to oranges. It's not the same, because you're a single agent, you're running your business, you're paying all your things. A lot of single agents don't realize that they have a profit margin. You should do that.
Everybody should have a profit margin. I know. Thank you for pointing that out. A lot of people think, what was it? It was one of the mega camps. Bobby and Gary and Jay were on stage, and they're talking about something like, for the top 5% of NAR realtors in the country, like 65% of them were broke because they didn't have profit margin. They didn't understand the value of the profit margins and what's your net profit actually. What are you actually taking home after all those expenses, expensive leases on the 3 cars you have, and the list goes on and on, right? Do you know your net profit? And that's really key, whether you're a solo agent, whether you're a small team, or if you're a massive team like yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, very true. Okay, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about, so you're at 120 million in the last 12 months. How did that feel? Because that was a new number for you guys to break over 100 million.
It was, that was all Erin left. Erin is our VP of growth, and her expectations and her goals are just so astronomical. You need somebody in your world that can do that can push you, that can set big, hairy, audacious goals and just go grab them.
Yes.
And she is that person. And yes, that was a scary goal for us. Last year's goal was, I don't know, 70 million. And that was still scary. I was like, there's no way we're going to hit 70 million. And she went and she grabbed it and she did it. And then she's like, you know what, we're going to double it. I'm terrified for next year. I'm terrified for next year. But her drive to just to go grab that. And look, she's not out there lead generating. She's not taking business. What she is doing is she is generating training and education and bringing on talented people. It's very much about culture and maintaining that culture on the team. That is her focus in motivating people at a high level. And she does that better than I do. I think a lot of rainmakers don't understand that too, is they think that they're going to do it best.
Exactly.
It can only be them. It is never you. It is very rarely going to be you, because what you were good at originally was probably building your own business and connecting with your own clients. And you're not going to be the very best person in the world to go and help the team get to the next level. That was part of, another E2P moment. You have to find somebody that's going to come on and do it and realize they're going to do it much better than you will. And we've had to realize that a few different times, a few different things. Another person that's done that, Tim Heil, right? He was really good at building his business to a certain point. Then he had to step out completely because there's no way that he could have taken it to where it is right now.
Right. And he was on a couple of weeks ago. And we talked about that. Here was a relationship with Matt, right? And that's like your Aaron. I talk about those two relationships a lot, your relationship with Aaron and his with Matt, and just how exponential the growth was, because you put the right people in the right seats and you let them do it then too. And you got, you had the vision, the same vision, and you let somebody come in and be the catalyst that owns that one thing. So you can also be looking at, okay, what else am I working on, right? For the Moats team, what other businesses can I be doing? And I know that you're very similar in that, because you've been pretty busy doing that as well.
Yeah. If you ever want to run a business, which most real estate agents are not running businesses, if you want to run a business where you have something that's can work despite you, you need to focus on the other people in your world and building up other people. It's not about how much business you can do personally. You need to try to get to a place where it's not you doing all the business and you're helping to pour into people.
Yeah.
Period. Otherwise, you're just going to have a practice. That was something that Tim Heil told me a long time ago when I started thinking about expansion. He's like, well, you look like you're you want to start running a business, but something you need to realize is it's not going to be about you, and you're going to make a lot less money doing that than if you just had a practice where it's all about you and you're just keeping all the money for yourself. There's two different paths you need to go, and you need to decide, which way do I want to go? Do I want to build a business that could grow beyond myself, or do I want to practice where it's all about me? And that was a big decision we had to make too at one point.
Was that clear? Was that a hard decision for you to make? Like, did it take time to process that, or did you know you wanted to create a business?
It did not take a lot of time for us, because Shaina and I have been married since we were 22, and this was business number 10 that we tried to start. And so we failed a lot, but we always knew that we wanted to build businesses. We didn't want to just go out there and we didn't want to deal with clients our whole career. We wanted to get to a place where we could bring on more people and encourage them to build big businesses. And I had multiple agents on the team that make more money than we do.
Yeah.
By a long shot.
Yeah. You have an agent in the North that she did over 20 million last year. And this year, I think she's over 30.
Yes. Stephanie Sharp. Sharp is a rock star at real estate, single mom, was working 2 jobs when she jumped into real estate. And she is changing her life one year at a time.
Amazing. And that's an opportunity that was created and because of the platform you guys have built within Keller Williams, right? And I think that that's so cool. And there's no doubt that a Stephanie could be successful wherever she went, but it's how far and how fast and how big.
Right.
And that's what I love, this whole, the entrepreneurial, right? That you have an entrepreneur. We're all very entrepreneurial. That's why we get into real estate. We get into real estate because we're entrepreneurs. But when Gary shows in career visioning that graph where it's that big circle, and within the circle is the question, we're all entrepreneurs, but if we make, like Gary Keller and Keller Williams has made such a big circle that all of us, the Moats team, the Melanie Kenneman, everyone on this call, Gary Still, everybody in our audience is bigger within the world, in the circle, the Keller Williams world, than outside of it. Because and then it goes the team, the Moats team within that circle, of Keller Williams, right, is you get the Aaron Luffs of the world and the Stephanies of the world, right? So it's pretty cool. I mean, when you think about what's created, what you guys have created, how does that feel for you? Like, what do you even just stop and think about? Wow, aren't we proud of what we've done?
Shaina and I, sometimes we have our summit coming up, or we've had team events that we've had in the past, and we don't do a lot of planning in those ourselves. A lot of that's taken care of by the team. And we find ourselves kind of sitting off to the side and listening to the conversations that are happening, listening to the culture that is being built, and the leadership that has formed inside of that world, and the success that everybody is seeing. And sometimes we just kind of have to pinch ourselves. We're like, how did this happen? This was not us. We did not build this. This is the people that we brought around us are the ones that built this, because we could not have done it this well.
You say that, and yet you did, right? You created the opportunity to attract these people, and then you let them do it, because a lot of people attract really talented people, Bobby, but they don't allow this to happen, right? And you guys did, and which is a huge compliment to you guys. I remember being at your summit last year, and I came to your house, and you had your whole team there, and I got such like chilly bumps because I was in the room with your whole team, because I see more of the North agents, right, these days. Mm-hmm. And so it really dawned on me the massiveness of what you guys had built, and just seeing that the culture and the synergy. And I love that you guys have that barn that you've remodeled at the house, right? That's such a cool hangout spot for you guys when you do events like that. But it was just such a moment for me of like a proud mom moment of, look at this. And I think what stands out for me, I think your numbers are amazing. That's awesome and cool. It's the culture and the people that you attract to your world that impresses me even more.
Oh, me too. Everything that I do right now is all about people. I know that the numbers are going to be the numbers, they're going to come, but it's the mindsets of the people and the leaders in this team that we're building, and how do I grow them? How do I help to pour into them? How do I provide them with more opportunities? That's become my whole world at this point, because that's the thing. You have to trust those people to do it better than you. And I think that's one thing that we have done really, really well.
You really have. And let's talk about culture for a second, because your culture really is an amazing culture. And I always look at that on teams. And it's one of the things I value the highest, is how the culture is, how the people are treated and stuff. And you guys are really big at that. And I'll just go back to our day of, community service last year for Red Day, and all, in May, there's a day in Keller Williams world, all around the world now it's global, right? Where Keller Williams offices shut down and do something for the community. And they're all different things. It could be helping a school. It could be whatever it is. And we had we are supporting Austin Angels this year, and we've been very supportive of that. And you made a challenge to your team that if whatever they got together for these foster kids, you would match it.
Yes.
And it was the energy with you and Aaron and the team that kind of then ignited everything. Then Julie Galarraga got involved, and all these people. And before you know it, our goal of, we had promised 100 boxes, which is like $10,000. Okay. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how people are going to show up. We did 472, because your team alone almost covered that, right? That first one. And I was like, oh my gosh. And just seeing that culture and having everybody come together, and seeing just what you guys have created within our great culture of Keller Williams already. I just want to compliment you guys on that. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you. That's a huge kind of value for our family, is we want to generate success so that we can give to others. So like Shaina pours a lot of her time now into nonprofits. She was the chair for Casablanca Gala last year and helped them raise $1 million. And she's still
Wow.
on that committee this year too.
Amazing.
And a lot of the events that we do for our team are for nonprofits. We had about 20 people off our team go up to North Austin, and we were packing boxes of food for kids that didn't have any food for the weekends to go home from school. We like to center our team events and point our funds towards giving back to the communities. That's just something that Shaina and I are very passionate about and want to almost be a legacy for our children.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that. All right, Bobby. So now that you have, amazing team in place running it, how do you spend your time these days?
Pouring into the leaders on my team and new opportunities.
Okay.
How can I create new opportunities to help them expand their worlds so that they always feel like there's an opportunity for that next step? And I'll tell you what, Erin Leff is the biggest, she pushes me more on that than anybody else, because I need to keep up with her. And so it's all about how do I create something that is big enough for Erin's vision. Yeah. And we're going to look up one day and Erin's going to rule real estate at some point. Maybe the next Shaina Kokoska. You just wait.
Oh, she's amazing. Yeah, I love her. I'm so grateful that we have her energy around all the time. She's amazing. I love having Moats team part of our world. It's really fun to collaborate together. So, okay. So tell me, for our listeners on the call, before I open it up, if anybody has a question, what is some advice you would give people? So think back to, let's go back to, that Shaina, her first year, you came on board and you had some struggles. What do you think with the market of today is like something agents should really pay attention to be successful?
Something they should pay attention to
or just take something they should do that would help them move forward if they're not seeing the results they want to see.
I think there's nothing wrong with the basics. Shaina and I started building our business on open houses at a very high level. And if you can do that, which there's some people that just can't interact in that space. But as a real estate agent, I think you should be able to, because you got to be able to jump up and have good appointments with people. And to do that, you should be very comfortable having hundreds of conversations at a time at an open house. I think open houses are, for a lot of agents, a lost art. There's people that are giving away open houses right and left. And that's how we started in our business, jumping into listings, because agents didn't want to do the open houses because they just saw them as a waste of time. But I think if you commit your weekends, you got to commit the weekends to getting out and being in the spot where buyers, especially first-time home buyers, are looking to spend their weekends. Like if you stand in those open houses, have good, high-quality conversations, make sure your scripts are on point, and make sure you have great sign placement, at least 20 signs for every open house. You are going to see success. It may take a little bit of time, but you are going to see success because of the number of people that you've had quality conversations with that are going to then in turn trust you with their real estate decisions. That I think is probably the best thing any real estate agent could do. We've had so many times where agents would sit in an open house. Shaina would sit in an open house, and that person, she would meet the person, have a great conversation, say, hey, let's go check out this house after I get done, and go put an offer in the same day. Like that, you want bottom of the funnel leads, go to open houses. They may tell you they're 6 months out, but if they're looking at homes, they're probably going to buy something there pretty quick, right? It's open houses by far.
Yeah, you're getting in the way of opportunity, right? And again, the signage is key. You guys have always been such great example of just getting people's attention, right? And doing like in the Shift book, Gary talks about, the different levels of open houses, right? And, it Shift's a great reread for everybody, because we have had a shift, right? Because we went from this intense, insane, 90 offers on properties to now we're seeing more listing inventory. It's still competitive, but it's different. And so you got to be on top of your skill and you got to know what you're doing. But he talks about, you can have an open house, just put the sign out, right? And all these different levels of it, or you can have, 20 directionals and this and this and door knock around. There's so much you can do around it. So just, I think being intentional and not being afraid to put yourself out there.
And don't get crazy about it. Don't go you don't need the flashiest sign. Just get the KW signs. That's what we started out with. Just get the KW signs. And even if you look at our signs now, they're very generic, and you don't need a bunch of fancy flyers. Just print out some MLS sheets. You don't need a fancy tool to capture contact information as they come in. Those are just crutches that we use to get in the way of having a good conversation. Just go in there, have your notebook, have good conversations with everybody that walks in, and get that appointment. And that's the way that's how you win open houses. Sign-in sheets. I hate sign-in sheets with a passion. I know some people have to use them, but it's just a crutch to not have a conversation.
Yeah. I love that.
That's my soapbox.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Let me allow the guests, if anybody on our studio audience here would like to ask Bobby anything, go ahead and unmute yourself or pop it in the chat. I'm looking at the live stream. There's just a lot of people saying one thing you can count on is change. That's true. And then, wow, aha moment right there when you were talking earlier. Okay. So anyone have a question for Bobby? Don't be shy. Now, Gary still is never afraid to ask a question. So I'm really surprised he's quiet down there. No questions from the audience? Okay, going once, going twice, or I'm going to go moving on. Okay, they're just like, this is so good. We just want to listen. Okay, that happens a lot. I always say, hey, if you're going to be in the studio audience, you have to ask a question. All right, good. All right, well, Bobby, let's talk about this. What's next for the Moats team? What's the next thing you're working on?
Again, I think we're coming up to a ceiling with our current systems and processes. So the next thing that we are working on is we're fleshing out a much larger operations team right now, and trying to make sure that that's a good stable base for our organization. We are thinking through what does lead gen look like at the level that we're at right now compared to where we were. And then also we started our own coaching company, and we're coming from contribution and coaching and thinking about expansion from that side, not from the traditional expansion sides. So we're really pouring into coaching programs, coaching and training with our agents, building that base with operations, and what does lead generation look like to get us from 120, 150 million to 250 plus.
Yeah, amazing. Are there any other markets you're looking at, or are you pretty much staying? I know you guys have been pulling in some people from, you're San Antonio and you're close, you're north of Austin now too. Any other markets you want to go in outside of those right now, or are you going to stay pretty keeping you busy here?
We're not sure what coaching is going to look like and how many people are going to want to jump on board with that across the state. We're looking to stay in Texas despite many pulls outside. Right. Just to keep that simple. Again, this is part of our operational growth, is how do we service at a high level the agent in Houston the same as we service the agent in Austin. So yes, we are looking to expand outside of Central Texas, and we have San Antonio right now, and we have some stuff in Houston, some stuff in Dallas, but we're looking to slowly expand out that way and make sure that we can serve those clients at a very high level. Okay.
Awesome. That's great. Okay. Last thought before we wrap up. Do you have a story or a, I always love to share like a real life story, like a failing forward moment or anything that really was pivotal for you that you would want to share with the group?
Failing forward. I mean, we've had a lot of failing forward moments. I think one of the biggest things for a lot of new agents, Shaina, 6 months in the business doing open houses, had zero traction whatsoever. Maybe some people that said they wanted to do something, but some of them just don't do anything for a while. We were like out of money at that point for running, and we almost just stopped before the floodgates opened. We've had that happen multiple times. I think it was year 2 or 3 in the business when we had failed multiple times at trying to build a team. We got to places where we had built up way too much infrastructure and thought that we were going to have to sell our house. Wow. And that was a massive failure in my mind, like putting us in that situation. and then pushing through a little bit. And this comes back to that database, and the people, as long as you do the activities, the people in your world already in your database are going to be the ones that support you to push you through that. And they did. And we got through that and continued to grow. I think, man, there's so many failures. We've tried to build the team structure so many different ways over the years, and it has failed nearly every time, right? And then we've hired agents that we thought were going to be amazing and lost those agents. We've hired agents that were amazing and lost those. There's a lot of heartbreak in growing a business and a lot of scary stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it ever goes away. It's just about persevering through it. Because, we have more agents now and we still lose agents.
Yeah.
And it still is heartbreaking, more so to Erin right now than me, because she's a lot closer to that. But the reason why I think it never goes away is I look at Gary, and I used to sit in the room when Gary heard of a top agent that left somewhere across the country, and you could just see it was killing him. Like, he hates to lose people in his world that he pours into. And I think that some of the biggest failures in my career and in my business are losing good people that we respect and enjoy working with. And you just got to move forward with it.
Well, I only ask you that not to take you there, but I think it's so important for people here, especially the people on it for the second half that are listening, is that no matter what's happening, right? And everybody has failure. And it's those failures, Bobby, that make you who you are today. And your whole life, you will continue. The more you grow, the more you'll have. Honestly, I mean, gosh, I lead market centers for 14 years and it hurts me when somebody leaves, right? It hurt, and I have fail forward moments all the time. And yet every time I fail, I look up, and when I can look back, when the scar is healed and maybe I can just see it, but at least it's not gushing blood anymore. And I look back, I see I've become a different version of me. And it's made me smarter, or there's a lesson there. Yep. And I learned from it. And I think that is just so important to share with our listeners is, I love the story that you shared that, 6 months, oh my gosh, 6 months doing open houses every weekend and not one sale. A lot of people would quit. Oh, yeah. And yet you didn't. You almost did, but you didn't. And so now you and I are sitting here today, and we're talking about your team that's closed over $120 million. Wow.
Yeah. It's
pretty awesome. I know, it's pretty awesome. I see Camila has her hand up. I think we actually have a question from someone in our audience. Go for it, Camila. Hi, dear.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good, how are you?
Good. I really wanted to ask this question with, talking about people leaving over the years, because kind of like what Melanie was saying earlier, when we look at teams, not to consider that commission, because there is so much more than that. And as someone who started in this team, I couldn't imagine starting my career without being this amazing team. But of course, agents do leave because, I don't know, commissions. And I was just curious, like, what do you happen to know if you have, like, what is that turnover rate? And do you feel like it balances with the incoming people that you have? And, you have such amazing training, like, do you guys actually have like a lot of long-term people staying onto the team?
So over the years, we've seen pretty high turnover in the past. We saw high turnover, and it had never had anything to do with commissions. People always said maybe it was because of leads, or it was because of some training or whatever. Some people tried to say it was commissions.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was because they weren't seeing success. It wasn't because of the splits or anything, because as anybody who's building a team right now knows, or in real estate, is you have a lot of expenses in real estate. And again, the jumping on a team that has those splits is designed to help that be your profit at the end of the day. So a lot of the turnover we've seen has not been about that. There has been people that think it's about that, but in reality, they just weren't seeing success because they weren't willing to do the activities that were going to show success in their business. And I think that's what it comes down to. I like to relate it back. There's a lot of people that jump brokerage to brokerage, and they think this next,
Oh gosh,
they're going to be more
telling
successful, or this other team's going to be more successful,
Yeah.
or whatever. Or if I just do it by myself.
Always looking on the outside for the reason, right?
Yeah. And the unsuccessful agents are going to be unsuccessful wherever they exist. Like that's typically what we see. That most of the time, that's what we see. And I relate it to, I play a lot of tennis, and I know like golfers out there. There's a lot of people that need to buy the next greatest golf set or the next greatest tennis racket that's going to make them better at the sport. And it's never about that. If you're good, if you're the best, doesn't matter if you're playing with a kiddie racket or the best racket ever made, you're going to beat the person across from you, period. And I think the same thing comes down to, that's what it comes down to in real estate. You're either going to succeed at real estate, and you're going to do that in whatever seat that you're in, whether it's an individual agent, you're on a team, you have a team, you're at KW, you're not at KW, you're either going to succeed there or you're not. And yeah, that's kind of been my
I think that's a really good answer. And honestly, I personally, from my perspective, I feel like you guys have really good, I've seen a big improvement in turnover. In the last year that I've worked even deeper trenches with you guys. I think you have amazing people that there's a lot of longevity there. And I've seen that too. Like I was just looking at our numbers at our market center, and our net's up 233% for the year. And, that's a lot to do with many factors, our gross is bigger, we changed our complete model, and we had to, right? We had to, because again, the one thing you can count on is change, right? And if we're not being competitive with our competitors, just as for our individuals and our teams, then we're going to lose. And we want to be in business with the Moats team. We want to be in business with the great individuals we have. And so, yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that was a great answer. So, okay, last thought, because I know we're out of time. What is the last thought you would like to leave for our listeners on either the second half, playing to win? Here you are, you've got 120 million on the team in 12 months. That's just incredible. Just congratulations to you. You're building and are continue to build and grow amazing people. Mm-hmm. What is your last thought that you would like to give our listeners today?
I mean, it's stuff that I've said. You got to persevere through those rough times and continue to do the activities that are laid out, that are proven to work, and you're going to see success. Just keep doing those things. I think that's what we've done multiple times in our career. Keep doing the activities. Don't give up. Keep pushing through, and you're gonna hit that gold mine. But I've seen that over and over and over again. Stephanie Sharp's an example on our team. Like, she just keeps doing the activities, and she just keeps doing exactly what we know is going to work, and she keeps seeing success because of that. And I think that that's the number one thing, period. Keep doing those open houses.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Bobby, thank you so much for your time today. I hope everybody enjoyed listening to this amazing human. I'm proud to call you my friend, and I'm just so proud to be in relationship with you and your amazing team. And I love your team. And I know that you're going to keep impacting real estate, not just in Austin, but all over Texas, and helping people grow. And I love that about you. So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next week. Oh, next week, by the way, we have, as our guest, we have Brady Sandall. Do you know Brady?
I do
Have
not.
you met Brady? Okay, Brady Sandall is the new KW luxury director for Keller Williams International. He's the top luxury agent in Palm Springs, and they brought him in to be the director of KW luxury, and he's done amazing things to KW luxury. So I'm excited to talk to him. He comes from like Nordstrom background, and we're going to talk about customer service and all that good stuff. So that'll be a great session. So hope to see some of our listeners next week.
Yeah. Thank you, Melanie.
Bobby Moats, you're awesome. Proud of you.
Thank you so much.
See you soon. And now I keep looking at that Ninja Turtle the whole time. That's amazing.
Hold on. I got it.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. What does that quote say?
It says, the path that leads to what we truly desire is long and difficult, but only by following that path do we achieve our goal. Oh. It's from Master Splinter.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that. I totally know who that is. All right. Thank you for your time. Give
Thank
my
you.
love to Shaina.
I will.
Bye.